Hello everyone, it's Ripon, and welcome to another Draft League! Yeah, the Pokemon Draft League was fun, but I feel like I didn't get enough out of it, so we're going to go into another Draft League. This time being a Yu-Gi-Oh! Draft League, hosted by the KCC, the Kuriboh Championship Cup. But this one is also another low tier, basically being a Carnival. With that, what is a Yu-Gi-Oh! Draft League that a lot of people might be answering that differs from like a Pokemon Draft League? Well, the general rules are this. We are playing under the Master Rules revision of Master Rules 5. We follow a custom ban list, partially based off of the current TCG ban list, which is from December 9th, 2024, which means any ban lists that are made prior to this won't be applied. The available card pool entails every card released into TCG up to crossover breakers, which means anything that's released after that won't be used, and no cards from banned archetypes may be used. Yes, this is a low tier, which means any high tier archetype is banned. We are only dealing with the low tier decks, which is honestly perfect for me because I don't like using those high tier decks. But for our deck building rules, all decks created must contain at least 1/5, rounded down, of your main deck from one archetype you have drafted, and must contain at least that amount to be considered that archetype. Which means, if you are about to run an archetype of one of the decks that you have drafted, it's gotta be at least 1/5 rounded down. You can't just be like running 3 cards and then run an archetype that you didn't draft, or a bunch of like other cards that you did. You have to at least have 1/5 of it to be considered that deck. When deck building, you may play or splice any card from archetypes you have drafted, which means you can actually combine your decks. Now, there is a little more math on that, which means 1/3 of your deck has to be of one archetype and the other one is good. Any non-banned cards / archetypes not listed on the tier list or staple tier are considered free real estate, and anyone may be able to use by any duelist in deck building, which means cards that are not listed when drafting are free real estate. If they're not banned or a banned archetype, we can use them. For example, if I drafted an archetype, I'm the only one allowed to use cards from that archetype, but anyone could basically use I don't know what would be a good card to justify to explain this. I don't expect anyone to use it, but anyone can use Gaia. No, not Gaia. Anyone could basically use a generic rank 4 Exceeds monster that doesn't belong to any archetype, like Diamond Dire Wolf. Cards from any archetype you have drafted may only be used twice per week, including splicing, only used as your main archetype. This increases to 3 during semifinals and finals. This rule does not include adding a single unique card from an archetype you have drafted, for example, a singular copy of Time Thief Redoer or a playset of Kira Finir, which, honestly, I believe both of those archetypes are banned. But basically this, I can't just go and use the same archetype in every game. Essentially, you will be seeing me use every archetype throughout this draft league that I've drafted. Maybe not one of them, but practically almost all of them. But speaking of which, let's go into the archetypes I drafted. Our first archetype that I drafted was Machina. Yep, we're going to disobey Waka and use the Forbidden Machina. But yeah, basically Machina are has high level monsters that can be special summoned when destroyed or discarded. Not to mention having effects that allows them to get discarded. And the lower ones basically helps you search or even protect those high level monsters. I honestly like the archetype of Machina just because its synergy with a lot of other decks that I just drafted is going to be very well burst, especially just playing it by itself. So it'll be a good thing. Infinitrax. It's actually an archetype I have never played it before, but I wanted to try something new. And basically, with my draft league, I wanted to be machine focused. So a lot of my archetypes I drafted are going to be machine decks. But basically, it's a rank 5 deck that allows you to basically exceed summon into a bigger monsters, which essentially, if I get those monsters on the field, my opponent can't touch them if I have the proper defense. Along with that, Infinitrax also mixes well with the Machina archetype and a lot of my other archetypes I've drafted. Train Package, or better known as Railway, is basically a rank 10 deck. But basically, I got this out of the grace period after looking at both Machina and Infinitrax decks, and I'm like, okay, I need some trains here, and there's this free train here. I'll grab that. But essentially, summon out level 10 monsters, summon out big guy, and hope for endgame. Our next archetype is Red Eyes, our only non-machine deck, because we can't really use the Metalmorph archetype since it is a banned archetype, along with a lot of other archetypes that would mesh well with Red Eyes. But the thing is, Red Eyes is a good deck regardless whether I mix it with my machines or not, because it could be a fusion deck, a ritual deck, a Xyz deck. If I'm daring enough, I could probably make it a synchro deck, but Red Eyes does not have any tuners. One day, though. One day. But essentially, heavy bear damage and just overall a great threat presence. Gadgets are going to be more of a tech thing that I can easily tech into my other 3 machine decks. Essentially, it allows me to just swarm the field with level 4 monsters. They do have their own monsters that do get powered up by their effects, so I'm hoping to take advantage of that as well. But essentially, they are support for other archetypes. Mechlords! Now, this one's a little bit of a different story. I think I could easily get them to mix well with the gadgets and maybe the other 3 machine decks, but this is basically more to counter anyone that decides to use a synchro deck on me. If my opponent is heavy on synchros, Mechlords are definitely coming. Essentially, you have giant monsters that rely on destruction effects on itself, and essentially, if I get one of those big guys out and essentially be able to attack a few times, I should be good. And our last archetype, Vehicroids. I had like 1 point left, and honestly, I wanted to draft the very thing that got me more into Yu-Gi-Oh! And honestly, I do hope to use this deck in 1 week, probably. The fact that no one really knows how this deck plays will be my greatest advantage on using it. But that's also its big disadvantage, that it doesn't have a true play style. Along with drafting archetypes, we also drafted some staple cards. Lost Wind for negating effects that may become annoying, and I decided to draft almost every Mirror Force just for defense. So no matter what, I have something to protect myself, depending whether I draw them or not. And these are going to be our 6 weeks for our opponents. We have already played our week 1 opponent because of time constraints and such. But we're hoping to at least have some fun games, and honestly, I'm seeing a lot of fun interactions as well, so... Oh yeah, I forgot to mention what our team name is. The Ripon Vehicroids. So, next time, we'll be going against our week 1 opponent, which is... I believe it's the Vancouver Habas? I'll put something down there if I got it incorrect, but yeah.